In this episode of Detroit Performs, a play takes on a rare disease. Music resurfaces from a concentration camp. And a winning performance. It's all ahead on this edition of Detroit Performs.
Funding for Detroit Performs is provided by Masco Corporation is proud to manufacture innovative and environmentally friendly products for the home. Delta faucets, craft-made in Merillat cabinets, and Behr brand paints have all been designed with you in mind. Masco and its family of companies, serving Michigan communities since 1929. Funding is also provided by the Michigan Council for Arts and Cultural Affairs, the National Endowment for the Arts, the A. Paul and Carol C. Scott Foundation, and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello, and welcome to Detroit Performs. I'm your host, DJ Oliver, and today I'm at the Holocaust Memorial Center in Farmington Hills. Now I'll be taking you around this remarkable museum throughout the show and have a conversation with Rabbi Eli Mayerfeld about how the center honors and remembers Holocaust victims and survivors. In the meantime, let's get to our first segment. Runyonland Productions is a student-led production company who we caught up with as they were rehearsing the play For the Record. Take a look.
At least I told you I was going away.
Oh, yes. How generous.
Okay, I don't know what to say. I'm sorry. I tried telling you that. I am.
Through the use of art, we can communicate and get out the feelings that we need to be able to deal with whatever is happening.
Theater in general is where we go to work out the problems that we're having. We need a sanctuary to go where we can live for a while in somebody else's circumstance.
Hey, take it easy. Take it easy. Come on.
Settle down.
Who are you and what are you doing here?
Robert, how
Stop calling me that!
Runyonland Productions is a student-run production company here in Ann Arbor at the University of Michigan. We're comprised of a team of 8. We have our founder and executive producer, Thomas Slob, and then we have 4 associate producers, a general manager, an assistant general manager, and we're committed to telling stories that are bold and new and unheard, which oftentimes means putting together productions like premieres of original work, like the play we're doing right now.
Hey! Yes, I can hear you. Yeah. No, I'm in the studio now.
Reset for This Is My Guitar, please.
So we were really excited about For the Record. Our amazing professor, Geoff Packard, who has had years and years of Broadway experience and is now teaching here. He had this original story.
I started writing about a relationship in my life with an older songwriter friend of mine, and then it sort of morphed into this other thing when I watched a documentary on Huntington's disease. The documentary, I should say, is called The Lion's Mouth Opens. Huntington's disease is a neurological disorder that affects chromosome number 4. It has been described as many different things, all of which are not good. ALS, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's together, a sort of conglomerate of that.
Well, the doctors warned me that the early onset would be a gradual loss of motor function, but I played pretty well yesterday.
MS?
Huntington's.
If you have the disease, you have a 50-50 chance of passing that genetically to your offspring.
I got a blood test done 2 weeks ago, and they tested for all sorts of things pertaining to the baby.
Morgan?
Genetic stuff. Gender, birth abnormalities. It's amazing what they can test
how
for
could
these
you do
days.
this?
The gene that carries the Huntington's
Morgan,
mutation is...
Morgan, you cannot bring this in here.
I haven't opened it yet! So I don't know what's inside.
It's something you have to live with, knowing that you have that sort of clean-cut coin flip of a future with or without this disease. So the play now has become this story of these 2 men, but larger than that, it's about how we as artists or humans deal with our inevitable mortality. And I know that sounds heavy, but I like to think that it's optimistic.
That sounds good.
Great. No changes or anything?
No, surprisingly.
Yeah, I don't know why that should be surprising, but let's push forward.
Okay, with what?
With some icebreakers.
What?
For the Record is about two men who spend 11 hours in a recording studio under the auspices of the older gentleman recording an album and the younger gentleman engineering the sound for that album. And throughout the time together, they sort of realize that they have a deeper connection and that there is a sort of underlying meaning for them being together. And then sort of all hell breaks loose when they realize how they know each other. And it asks some questions like, how do we as artists deal with our own mortality? How do we connect with human beings other than ourselves? And do we need a community in order to survive? We're lucky enough to have, first of all, amazing students here at the University of Michigan who are as extra get. They are the hardest working, most dedicated folks that I've ever been around. But on top of that, we have someone who is not a student, Tommy Gomez, who is a professional actor and who graciously agreed to do this because he liked the script.
Talking with Geoff about the show early on, he was really concerned about the connection between human beings. Even more, I mean, this is not like, a PSA about Huntington's. Huntington's is in there, but it's about this, the need for connection between human beings. And so I'm hoping that that's the predominant theme. That though we think we can do things alone, and sure there's a lot of stuff that we do alone, but in the bigger picture, in the picture of humanity, that being with or working with someone has value.
Have you even written a song before? Is this even real blood?
Do you think we would be having any conversation at all if I walked through that door and said, "Hi, Rob, my name's DC, your mother sent me"? You run away from everyone. Your mother, your girlfriend, at the funeral, you weren't even...
Stop talking.
Tommy and Blake both embody these men who are in an extenuating circumstance in their life. They're at a crossroads. They need to make a decision how to move past this information that has arisen. And that's the key. As the director, I keep telling them to play less character and play this situation. How are they going to deal with this obstacle in their way? And I think their struggle is then what we are interested in as an audience.
I'm not leaving. I can stay as long as I want. You assaulted me, remember?
I did not assault you.
Technically you did, and you haven't exactly been helping your case.
Oh, unbelievable.
Call her.
What?
Just call her and I won't press any charges.
You're kidding.
No, I'm not.
This is incredible.
Rob is my audience. I'm not playing Rob, so I can't, I can't say. But dramaturgically, it's about him becoming aware and letting his guard down enough to let someone else in.
Before the play starts, he has left his hometown and has cut off all ties to family members, loved ones, his living girlfriend, and he decides he is going to live like, we mentioned it in the play, a tardigrade, which is one of the most indestructible organisms known to man. It's survived 5 mass extinctions. He wants to live like that. He wants to live without needing anything because he thinks that's a weakness, and he wants to spare everyone from the inevitable disease or not of him being a carrier of this. And I think hopefully he learns throughout the play that there are other options for him other than living without anyone.
This is my love.
These songs that our older character DC has written hopefully affect Rob, our younger character, in a way that opens him up. So they are stories that Rob can connect to from his past.
You walked for days in all the wrong directions. Just when you think you're there, you find you're lost.
I hope that the audience can take away from For the Record the notion that when times are hard, we have to turn to other people and those around us, that even though it may seem easier to run away from things, in the end it's always better if we can reach out to those we love because they'll be there for us.
You want to take that?
No.
Okay.
But I will.
I hope that they are left with some questions about how to use the time that they have, however short or long, on this earth to do something, to connect with someone, to make something, to share ideas and pass that along.
You can learn more about Runyonland Productions as well as all the artists that we feature on DetroitPerforms.org. University of Michigan music theory professor Patricia Hall unearthed manuscripts of music that were arranged and performed by prisoners of Auschwitz while she was conducting research in Poland. She took the manuscript for the foxtrot she found titled The Most Beautiful Time of Life and gave it a voice by having a U of M ensemble play and record it. Here's the story.
I've been working in archives researching musical manuscripts for about 40 years, and I heard that there were musical manuscripts in the Auschwitz-Birkenau State Museum. So naturally I was very curious what they might be like. It had to be the extreme irony attracted me specifically to this foxtrot, Die schönste Zeit des Lebens, which is the most beautiful time of life. It's based on a song by a very popular German film composer, Franz Grota. It has a text, and it's about falling in love in the month of May.
In Auschwitz-Birkenau, the purpose of the orchestras was actually to bring the workers back into camp and have them leave. So they played mostly in the morning and the evening. Musically, the best music to get people to walk are marches.
Another function of the Auschwitz Orchestra was to play a concert in front of the commandant's villa, in front of Husse's villa on Sunday. And this was for the SS personnel. It was about a 3-hour concert that was broken up into stages, and at one point they had a dance band so that soldiers could dance. Given the instrumentation of this foxtrot, I think that's probably what it was used for. It's for 14 players, so it's scaled down, 9 violins, a viola, a trombone, 2 clarinets, and a tuba. I contacted Oriol Sans with the Contemporary Directions Ensemble, and he was immediately very enthusiastic about the idea not only of presenting it in a concert, but also of the process of recording it.
And it's really wonderful that at a place like University of Michigan, we have the capacity to do something like this, to not only find the performers, but also be able to go into a recording studio and have a recording that will be used by the archives at Auschwitz-Birkenau.
This recording is really highly significant. We're bringing this thing to life. We're hearing exactly, well, as close as possible, how it sounded in Auschwitz I in 1943. This foxtrot, Die schönste Zeit des Lebens, it's written out by hand by 3 different prisoners. 2 of them sign their prisoner numbers at the end, so you can research exactly who these men were. And they have very small numbers, like 5665 or 5131, and that's because they were Polish political prisoners who were arrested and brought to Auschwitz I, the main camp, very early. And one of those who was a copyist is Antoni Gargul. His number is 5665, and he was a violist, but he was also a Polish soldier. 5131 is Maximilian Pivat. He was a professional musician, and he had a conservatory degree, and he was a bassoonist. The third arranger, who has a very different handwriting that I've become quite attached to, I must say, we're not sure who he is. I've been trying to research possible prisoners and trying to get a sampling of their handwriting. So I've been working with Joshua de Vries. What he's been doing is taking these scans of the musical manuscripts and transcribing them into printed notation.
As a music theorist, there have been some interesting moments in creating this foxtrot. There were some wrong notes that had come up in the originals. I think that's because there wasn't an original score, that the copyists were just creating parts. And when you can't visualize something or see something completely vertically, often wrong notes in the harmonies are going to happen. So it was one of my jobs to go through and try and figure out what some of the right notes were. The way that the music modulated to different keys that brought in new verses and new choruses, it was the transitions that were really interesting. The verses and the choruses in these songs, everyone knew, but the two-measure bits in between them allowed them to bring in just a little bit of their own touch at times. Thinking back, I would think that kind of gave them a little bit of escape and let them kind of remember their time before the camp, because these were truly wonderful and talented musicians whose lives or careers were often cut short or at least delayed by their time in these camps.
Hello guys, I am here with the CEO of the Holocaust Memorial Center, Rabbi Eli Mayerfeld. How you doing, Rabbi?
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having us here today, man.
So nice to have you here today.
All right, so tell us a little bit about the mission of the Holocaust Memorial Center here.
The mission of the Holocaust Memorial Center is to engage, educate, and empower by remembering the Holocaust.
And so how do you honor the survivors here?
So the survivors themselves, I think, are honored by remembering the events that occurred to them. We have the survivors who are still alive, who tell their own personal histories here at the building every day. Yeah. And we want to make sure that those stories get told. It's not just a story of 6 million people who were murdered, but individual stories of each one of those people. And we want people to be challenged when they come through the museum. But there's also bright points. We want people to understand that there were choices that were made throughout the Holocaust, choices made by perpetrators, but choices also made by righteous people who did the right thing and who acted against perhaps their own interests even in order to save people. And so we have to make sure that those other voices get heard here as well, that it's not just the depressing part of the story, but it's also the illuminating parts of the story as well.
So what's been the reaction after people have seen some of these powerful exhibits?
So it can be very hard.
Yeah.
There is a certain amount of adjustment. For some people, this is something that they may have known vaguely about, but after they've come through, it's harder. It makes it difficult for them to sort of adjust to the reality that they're now aware of.
So let's speak about this exhibit behind us here. So this is pretty powerful, man.
Yeah, so you're looking at a boxcar from Germany that was brought here, and it was the boxcars like this that transported tens of thousands of Jews from each town. Overall, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of Jews that were taken to work camps or to their death in boxcars like this. And they would pack people in here. There wasn't room to sit. So you're talking about, if people sat in here, maybe you have room for 30 people, they would put over 100 people in. They would lock the doors. There were guards standing on the roofs to keep people from trying to climb out. They would be shot if they tried to climb out. And they could be in these for sometimes more than a week. The stories are really hard.
That's
really
powerful, man, even hearing that now.
Yeah.
All right, so finally, what is the lasting impression you want people to have once they leave the Holocaust Memorial Center?
So we want people to be empowered to act. We want them to understand that life is made up of choices and that terrible things happen because of choices people make, but also great things can happen because of the choices that people make. And it's up to us to do them. There's not some big current of history and everything's just going to happen no matter what. It depends on what you choose to do, and you can make a difference.
All right.
And we want people to remember that.
Thank you so much, Rabbi, for having us here today, man.
Thanks for being here. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you. And now let's check out some upcoming events happening in and around the D. Every year, the Sphinx organization holds a competition open to all junior high, high school, and college-age Black and Latino string players that reside right here in the U.S. Here's recent winner, Rubén Rengel.
La música tiene un poder impresionante y estar envuelto en los sonidos en cada momento es una cosa mágica. De verdad que el impacto que puede tener la música es impresionante. My name is Rubén Rengel. I'm from Caracas, Venezuela, originally. I'm going to school now in Houston at Rice University. I play violin and I'm 22 years old. I come from a musical family. My dad plays Venezuelan folk music, and I started really young, and it was always an environment of music and at home. I think music should reach as much people as possible, and that's my goal personally. Of course, that requires achieving a great level of artistry and technique, and that'll give me the opportunity to reach as many people as possible.
And that wraps it up for this edition of Detroit Performs. As always, for more arts and culture, head to DetroitPerforms.org, where you'll find featured videos, blogs, and information on upcoming arts events. Also, check us out on Facebook and Twitter. We'd like to thank the Holocaust Memorial Center for letting me take in history here. Now do yourself a favor and come on out to Farmington Hills and see this place, which honors so many of the millions of brave souls who endured such a tragic moment in time. Until next Tuesday, get out there and show the world how Detroit performs, y'all. I'm DJ Oliver. Thanks for watching, guys.
Funding for Detroit Performs is provided by Masco Corporation is proud to manufacture innovative and environmentally friendly products for the home. Delta faucets, craft-made in Merillat cabinets, and Behr brand paints have all been designed with you in mind. Masco and its family of companies, serving Michigan communities since 1929. Funding is also provided by the Michigan Council for Arts and Cultural Affairs, the National Endowment for the Arts, the A. Paul and Carol C. Scott Foundation, and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.